Oh, that's right. I forget. We got the whatchamacallit. We got the split screen where it's us and then it's oh wow, it's 10 folks. It's 10 people already. Hey, hey everybody that is here. Thanks for being timely. We are going to give folks a couple of minutes to join us. So we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Oh, there he is. What's going on, Doc? Thanks for making it.
Hey, I'm good. How are you? How are y'all doing? Thumbs up. All right.
Sorry, I was drinking water. We ready? Hold on just a minute. I just gotta pop up. Let me close that. And she gon' is Latrice gonna just text you when she come in, or I just need to be vigilant, yeah, diligent and watch for her to come in. All right, all right. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending this special World's AIDS Day edition of the role of faith in HIV education, prevention, and care, hosted by the National Faith-Based Mobilization Network, also known as FaithMoNet, and your center. My name is Terrence Campbell. I am the president and CEO of your center, which is a faith-based HIV prevention agency in Flint, Michigan, that's been around since 1996. I'll be your facilitator for this evening, and joining us is James Robert, also known as Duke. He is our Director of Technology and Metrics. I want to take a brief moment before we get into the event and recognize FaithMoNet's board chairs, Dr. Michael Miner, Sister Lottie Miner, President Pastor Bernard Montgomery, and your center's board chair, Dr. James O. Shelley. In addition to this Zoom cast, we are restreaming tonight's webinar on our social media platforms. Please feel free to join us later on any of the social media pages for any of the organizations. So, man, so in case you all don't know, so Black people have been disproportionately affected by HIV since its epidemic's beginning, and that disparity has done nothing more than get worse over time. Although we only represent 12% of the population here in the US, we account for more than 39% of folks not only diagnosed, so infected, but affected by HIV in this country. 40% of those deaths, okay, by HIV to include 43% plus of individuals that are living with AIDS. And so that's larger than any other racial or ethnic group here in this country. Among Black folks, if we dig a little bit deeper in terms of the disparity of the disparity, we're looking at Black women, youth, and gay and bisexual men being those three major groups that are comprised, or again, the disparity within the disparity. HIV diagnosis among Black people are concentrated in a handful of states, with the top 10 of 7 are in the rural South, accounting for 64% of all HIV diagnoses among Black people. But before we go into much more of these stats and why it's important for us to care, and the role that faith can play, has played, and will continue to play in helping us fight this horrible chronic illness, I do want to give a voice to the founder of your center, and be real transparent, my awesome and amazing mother, Bettina Campbell.
Thank you, Terrence. I am honored to be here. I had tried to avoid being on this panel, but I guess it was not to be. So I'm here today to talk to you about HIV and AIDS and kind of give you a basic overview of what it is, because we don't talk about it enough today. And so a lot of people don't know, and some have forgotten just what AIDS stands for. And, Proverbs 4:7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting understanding. And so tonight we're here to get a better understanding of what HIV is and why it is so critically necessary that we keep it in the forefront of our healthcare issues and that the church be involved. And so I've prepared a PowerPoint, and so Mr. Robinson is going to help me with that PowerPoint. So let's start this,
Bettina,
please.
hold on. In your talking, I'm hearing a reverb. So if Dad is close to you, or you close to him, y'all need to get further
We're
away
not.
from it. Oh, that's interesting then. And it's interesting now that I don't hear a reverb. So I'm not sure what's going on, but I was hearing a reverb.
Okay. Now, before I start my PowerPoint, Terrence, did you want the introductions, or are you going to do the introductions of the rest of the panel after I do the PowerPoint? I can't hear you.
I thought I would do it after.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so what is HIV? HIV stands for human immunodeficiency virus. And it's a virus that attacks the human immune system. And unlike some viruses, like the common cold, it can't be cleared from the body. So once you have this virus, you'll always have this virus. But there are treatments available. Next slide, please. How HIV is treated. Excuse me, how HIV is transmitted. HIV is transmitted in 4 bodily fluids. It's breast, It's semen, vaginal secretions, breast milk, and blood. And it's not any other but those four, and it can be contracted if you come in contact with any of those through sex or sharing of needles, or if you come in contact with body fluids through any other way. Mothers can also pass the virus to their babies through breast milk, or during pregnancy, or also during delivery, and if they choose to breastfeed afterwards. Next slide, please. What is AIDS? AIDS stands for Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome. Next slide, please. I guess I wanted to stop and say too here that AIDS is a diagnosis. And although you can have HIV and not have AIDS, you can't have AIDS and not have HIV. So how can it affect your body? It attacks your immune system, and it destroys your CD4 cell count. And that's important because this is the part of your body that fights off infections. The more CD4 cells that are destroyed, the weaker your immune system becomes, and the weaker your immune system becomes, then the faster you you can go from HIV to AIDS. Next slide, please. Being HIV positive is not the same as having AIDS or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. HIV is the virus that kills the CD4 cells in your body. AIDS is the disease. AIDS is the disease that can be caused by an untreated HIV infection. And HIV infection advances AIDS when there is less than 200 CD4 cells per cubic millimeter in blood. If this happens, it means that the immune system has become very weak, and someone can quickly become very sick. Next slide, please. Lowering the viral load is how the medicines work for HIV. Medicines work is that it lowers the amount of the virus that's in your body. It helps people that are, next slide. It raises the CD4 cell count, and it prevents from being able to transmit the virus. That's what HIV is. So I just wanted to kind of remind people about what HIV is, what AIDS is, and to know that there is a difference, because oftentimes we talk about them as if they are synonymous. We want to make sure that people understand that they are not, that HIV is the virus. AIDS are collection of symptoms that say that now that your CD4 cell count is dropped below 200, and you've had some of these what they call AIDS-defining illnesses, you now have AIDS. So once you get that diagnosis, even though your immune system can be boosted, you always have that diagnosis. But again, with all of the medications that they have now, you can live a long and fairly productive and happy, healthy life with HIV.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me take a quick moment before I get into the more conversational part of the presentation with you and the other presenters or the other panelists. Let me introduce the other panelists. And so the first panelist that I do want to take a moment to introduce, and then I'm gonna let her talk about herself, is Bishop Jefferson. I've had the pleasure of knowing Bishop Jefferson, and she reminded me I've known Bishop probably 35, maybe 40 plus years of my life, because I actually went to school with her with one of her daughters, and it was awesome to meet her when we came together at Bishop's event a couple of years ago. But she has been a strong advocate of health equity in Flint, Michigan, and abroad for a very long time. We also have the pleasure of having her serve as one of our board members in Flint, Michigan, staunch advocate for community-based participatory research. And beyond her roles as bishop, she is an executive director for, executive committee member for the Charles Mott Department of Public Health at at Michigan State University. She is also a commissioner for Mount Morris. And I'm gonna just let Bishop continue to her introduction herself.
Thank you so much, Terrence. Let me make a correction for the Charles Stewart
Uh-oh.
School
Yep.
of Public Health. I am the elected community representative on the executive board at the Charles Stewart Mott School of Public Health. I am vice president of CBOP, Community-Based Organized Partners, and I am commissioner at Beecher Metropolitan District. So those are some of the things that I are doing and involved in. And I'm an activist all my life, fighting for the rights of the people. And my organization is Caution, Citizens Advocating United to Inform and Organize for New Direction. So that's some of the work that I do, and proud of it and excited to be a part.
Awesome, awesome. And so the next person that I want to introduce on our panel that's here is Dr. Charles Centio. I have worked with this gentleman for, man, can you believe it, Doc? Where did the time go? It's been about 10 years. He's a licensed social worker as well as an associate professor in the let me make sure I'm saying this right, and then I'm gonna just pass it off to him for him to continue to introduce himself. An associate professor in the Department of Library and Information Sciences at Rutgers University. Dr. Centio.
Thanks, thanks, Terrence and Bettina. It's great to be with you all and the rest of you. So my name is Charles Centio. As Terrence indicated, I'm a professor at Rutgers at the School of Communication Information, Library and Information Science is the department. I'm a health informaticist by PhD training, and that's when I met Terrence, is when I was at UM in my PhD program, and my advisor said I should meet Terrence because I was interested in continuing to do community health work, but do it as a researcher. And I met Terrence, and we've been connected ever since, and done several projects in Flint and Detroit, and kicking around all kinds of wonderful ideas still, even to this day. So I did some work with the Your Center specifically in 2017-18. I was interested in how participation as a peer sexual health educator or a sexpert influenced them years later. And I had a chance to sit with and interview these young people, and their work had a profound impact, not just on their awareness of health, but also in terms of careers, and how it really helped shape the direction of their the trajectory of their education and their professional lives. So as a health informaticist and a researcher who's interested in health equity, I was interested in kind of, well, what does participating in various health programs, or specifically as a sexpert, what did that do for them? And it helped their self-esteem, it helped their self-confidence, self-respect. It helped them talk openly about their own sexuality and protecting themselves, and they were motivated to learn even more. And they also learned tangible information about transmission, some of the information that Bettina shared earlier about prevention strategies as well. And then relationships was the third area. So they impacted their life course in terms of their self-esteem, how much they understood about HIV and transmission. And also the third area was just relationships, interaction and connection with others, both peers and older adults who were in their networks who they had interfaced with through being a sexpert. So their information had their work as a sexpert had profound impact on them, and I'm proud to share more about that work and other work when we get into our panel discussion. But that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Looking forward to engaging with you in discussion later on. So let us go back to the whole notion of HIV prevention and awareness, and let's just kind of set that context and just overall reproductive health, Bettina. And so why is it so important that we situate the conversation of HIV and other sexually transmitted, not diseases anymore? So we don't say STDs anymore. We call them sexually transmitted infections. So STIs.
Well, Terrence, it's very important because, as you say, we're talking about the reproductive health system. And so it's important that women and men, boys and girls, learn how to prepare their bodies in a healthy way so that they are avoiding these, as you say, STIs, including HIV, because once there are four sexually transmitted infections that once they are in your body, there's treatment, but there is no cure for those four. And because of that, that means that it's critical that women are, if they become infected, that they are in treatment and the doctors are aware, so that when they are giving birth or thinking about having babies, that they are receive the right treatment so that the babies can reduce the possibility of infection for them. So I'm in Mississippi right now, and one of the critical things that we've learned or that we've seen over the last few years is that syphilis has a lot of babies. I think it's 45 babies were born in the last couple of years with syphilis, and so we know that once that can be a very crippling disease or even a terminal disease for the babies. So it's important that we take care of our bodies, that we understand what we are doing, and that we make the right choices and realize that we are responsible for our own sexual behavior, nobody else. So that's why it's so important that we talk about HIV, and we talk about the long chronic illness effects of AIDS to our bodies.
You say 45?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, and
We're not gonna dwell on that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bettina.
Unfortunately, Mississippi is one of those southern states that have a high rate of HIV infection. So we need to learn as much as we can.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so going back to the theme of what can faith or how can faith help us to combat this this illness, or excuse me, this infection, this terrible infection. Let me shift gears in terms of panelists, and let me talk with Bishop or ask her a question. So two-part question, Bishop. So first question, as a parent, why did you feel it important to get involved in your center's work, and specifically the program that we have is called Your Blessed Health? And just real quick for individuals that are not familiar with our work in Your Blessed Health, it is an intervention that Bettina designed specifically to help faith leaders and coalitions more actively engage in the fight against HIV.
As a parent, I'm a parent of 10 children. And one thing that I promised that I would not do is sugarcoat or fake it with my children. They wanted to know something or needed to know something, I would tell them the truth. Not like when I was coming up, my mom said this and it was that, and it because she said so. We didn't ask questions and we didn't get no answers. One thing my mom told me, if I bring the baby home, no, if I got pregnant, I wasn't bringing the baby home. She didn't never tell me how not to get pregnant. She didn't never tell me what not to do. She just told me what happened if I got pregnant, that I wouldn't bring my child home. And my mother taught me to love. And so I knew that if I ever got pregnant, I was doing something with my child, even if I had to leave her house. And I respect her house and her home. So why did I get involved with the U.S. Center? Because they told the truth and they gave knowledgeable information, that it wasn't fake news, it was the real thing, something that you could take in, understand, and live by. And so not only did when I started going to the your center, I took my children when they had workshops and stuff, and there were questions that they had, and they'd had false information, and so they'd wait, and so one thing about angle sex, they didn't call it that. So I just broke it down in plain English where they would understand and the person they were asking to understand, and that they could get a real answer. And that's one thing that the Bible says, that children get weaker but wiser. They are so wise. And so they know fake news when they get it. And when you give them fake news, what do? Come out and it becomes disastrous to them.
So thank you very much, Bishop, for that answer.
Yeah.
As a parent, now I'm gonna ask you to put on your hat as a bishop and tell us that side of the story in
Um,
terms of not just being engaged. I mean, I remember you coming and saying, "Look, I'm gonna be on this board. Y'all not gonna tell me no," and have been a staunch advocate for us wherever you go. And it's, and that's been the deal. It's not like, oh, I'm over here, by the way, doing not. Folks
right.
know that if Bishop is part of some movement, she gonna tell you, and you gonna come, because Bishop gonna be like, you better come to this, because I'm gonna know if you there or not.
Yeah. When I, as a pastor, I prayed and I said, Lord, if I got a pastor, I'd rather pastor children than grown folks. And what came up in my door was youth and children. And I am not that naive. I was a child. I was a teenager. I was inquisitive. Uh, Started having sex early. And so therefore I needed to know what to do and what not to do. Not only myself, but my church, especially my youth, because it was full of young folks, young teenage boys and girls, young men and young ladies. And they grow up and they had questions. And so I didn't want them to fake it. I wanted to know the truth. I wanted them to know what to do and not what not to do. And I remember my daughter was very young at that time, and we had went to a workshop and they had condoms and stuff, and I had a bag of condoms. And at my home I have a sun porch. Well, in the wintertime I call it my walk-in refrigerator, and we were out there cleaning up the sun porch, the walk-in refrigerator, and I had a bag of condoms. And my daughter said, Mama, those are not any good anymore. She said they got cold, so they're not any good. I said, okay. So she was listening and she paid attention. Did that encourage her to run around and have sex? No, because when she was a senior, well, when she had graduated from high school and she was getting ready to go to college, I took her to get her physical exam, and I just knew when it was time for her to have her female examination. I went out the room. And when she got through, she came out and she said, Mama, I didn't have to have one. I said, oh. She said, if you haven't never had sex, you don't need one. I said, thank you, Jesus. I didn't say that to her. But I was excited because I taught her and she can make a wise decision. I tell them all the time, baby, I love you and I care about you ain't the right reason, because that's a thrill for a moment and will cause a heartache for a lifetime. But you can make an educated decision and protect yourself. Protect yourself. And so we did that. And even when I was gonna get her some condoms, I did get her some condoms to take to college with her. My one of my other members, when he got ready to go to college, his mom asked me, and I politely went to the Euro Center. I need some condoms for my young men, and I got them, and none of them came back with babies on their hips. They waited till they got ready to have them. They didn't come back with no STIDs. They didn't come back with no disease because they were educated. They were taught by the best. So excited. So
That's what I'm talking about.
and
I enjoy
if
hearing the
we don't
excitement in
teach
your
them
voice.
one thing, if we don't teach them, the world would teach them the wrong way.
Absolutely. Oh, that's absolutely. 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 All right. So let's shift gears a little bit. We do have one of our panelists that was able to join us. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Pashan. Hope all is well that way, and so I will give her an opportunity to introduce herself and then discuss the work that she's been doing with the folks there in the greater Memphis area with respect to faith, HIV awareness and prevention, and stigma. And here you go.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation tonight and my apologies for being late. I was at another speaking engagement. So I am currently working as a professor in the School of Public Health at the University of Memphis in the Division of Social and Behavioral Sciences. And I met Miss Bettina Campbell and Mr. Terrence Campbell during my postdoctoral studies at the University of Michigan in the School of Public Health, that I was part of the Kellogg Health Scholars Program. And during that postdoctoral fellowship, I learned about the CBPR principle. So that's a mouthful. It's community-based participatory research principles. And what that really entails is there's 9 principles that we follow in terms of engaging the community, from a research conceptualization of the question to designing a study, implementing a project, evaluating and disseminating research findings during panel discussions like we have tonight. And so when I first moved to Memphis, I started doing some of the preliminary work around just trying to understand what the landscape looked like in terms of HIV prevention and education, particularly in faith spaces. And so some of the things that I took from my postdoc really were things that Miss Bettina instilled in me around the social work tenets of meeting people where they are. We built off some of the earlier work that she was doing with the National Coalition of Pastor Spouses, with Sister Berryhill, and just being connected with other instrumental people that were working here in the Mid-South to kind of understand the lay of the land. And we looked at one of the manuals that they co-created with the National Coalition of Pastor Spouses to inform the current project that I'll talk about momentarily, to address stigma in churches. And so the earlier version of the manual kind of touched upon the ABCs, basic information about the social determinants of HIV, but we added some critical information with some of the advancements in science today, particularly around biomedical prevention, with PrEP, which I'll talk about too. And one of the big takeaways was the fact that it was important early on to kind of use some of those strategies that I learned in Flint, Michigan, with how to approach faith-based organizations by building rapport and eventually trust across both churches and community-based organizations that are providing HIV testing and education in churches, and then also working with other health systems by applying these CBPR principles that I mentioned. And then finally, just focusing on doing work that's not faith-based, where we put a program in a church with focusing on what it means to be faith-based, which covers adding scriptures to the educational component, prayer, and using some of the examples from some of the personal testimonies of people with lived experience into the educational program. Is that kind of what you wanted, Mr. Campbell, or keep going?
You are doing an awesome and amazing
Okay.
job as you usually do.
Thank you. Thank you. So kind of in the first, so I've been in Memphis for about 15 years. I'm going into my 16th academic year. And early on, I was working very closely with young people, young adults, and youth. And over time, they began sharing, as they do, start venting and wanted to have more of an open space to talk about and manage HIV stigma. And they also thought it was important for other members of the community, like the church, to be educated about stigma to better support people living with HIV. So they would casually mention like things that were happening to them in terms of cyberbullying and just, getting ill comments about living with the package. And so they talked about like this desire for connection, like a spiritual connection, a spiritual home, and not being fully supported or accepted by some of their church homes. And so we worked with a team of young people, and we discussed this method or photo voice technique that might be a good way to help us engage people who are living with HIV so that they can express and manage stigma and then also ultimately educate other people, and particularly those in the church about stigma. So we were blessed to find out about a funding opportunity through Gilead Sciences, and they had launched this initiative called Compass, and it stands for Commitment to Partnership in Addressing HIV/AIDS in Southern States. And so this project it was a $100 million partnership to work with community-based organizations to address HIV/AIDS in the South. And so it was a 10-year commitment, and we were one of the first cohorts of people to be recipients of that funding. So I would highly encourage those of you that are on this call to consider um, signing up for information through Gilead in terms of funding opportunities with your church or faith-based organization if you're interested in pursuing HIV related research, if you want to tackle stigma like we did. And one of the calls to action was for us to address um, stigma, and specifically internalized stigma. And what that means is how sometimes individuals that are living with HIV um, internalize some of the church hurt or discriminatory comments that people make towards them outside of church or in their healthcare environment, which oftentimes leads to negative health outcomes like not adhering to their medication or missing medical appointments. So we met with these three young men that are part of our Headliners grassroots community-based advisory group. And we conceptualized this project called Snap Out Stigma. And it's a photo voice project. So they took pictures, they were given a camera, and they took pictures of anything that kind of uh, were examples of what it meant to be living with HIV to them, things that they may have experienced in terms of stigma. So some examples might be like one individual took a picture of a church where they had actually received support. One person took pictures of paper plate and plasticware because when they were in their home, the family didn't want them to eat off the same plates and utensils. So those are some of the examples of things that our participants experience. And we engaged 35 people in Memphis that were living with HIV, both men and women, our aging community, to do this. And while we were conducting interviews, one of the main findings was that the church can serve as both a place of support, but then also a place of stigma. So we asked them, what type of programming would you like to see in churches moving forward? So many people said things like education, it's important to provide personal testimonies, present the statistics, and center the voices of those living with HIV. So we came up with this intervention called LIFT, and that stands for Leading by Igniting Faith and Education to Tackle Stigma. And it is a 2-session program. In the first session, we cover some of the statistics of the high rates of HIV in the South, and more specifically, our #1 ranking in the Memphis-Shelby County area for HIV incidence. We then cover basic HIV 101, similar to what I believe Ms. Bettina presented earlier in this panel. We discuss the history of HIV. And one of the unique features is how we start with an opening scripture. We read a prayer designed for each lesson. And we have these very interactive activities throughout to maintain our participant engagement. We define HIV stigma because a lot of people don't always know what that means. And we explain the differences with HIV stigma and discrimination. We also cover 6 transmission categories and risk factors, as well as protective factors, STIs, anatomically correct body parts. That's something that Ms. Bettina always makes sure that we do and mention the reproductive system. And then we close out with a prayer. So in session 2, we go deeper into some of the other more important topics, such as HIV testing, treatment. We talk about medication, what U equals U means, HIV prevention. We talk about the ABC methods, harm reduction. Many people may not know this, but in the Mid-South, in Memphis, we actually have 4 syringe service programs, and one is a Black-owned organization, a Black-led organization. Sister Reach is one of those organizations, and so is We Care Tennessee, that provides sterile needles and other harm reduction information. And then we follow up with more information on stigma, around PrEP stigma, but also HIV stigma, and then the impact of stigma. And then we embed in between both sessions 1 and 2, we share those examples from our Photo Voice project that I mentioned earlier, which are the testimonials. And I'm going to put in a second in the chat the link to our website for those of you that are interested in learning a little bit more about our project. And if you're also interested, I'll have my contact information in there if you're interested in learning about Project Lift. We're now in a space where we've done the intervention in 7 churches over 7 months. We reached about 130 people. But we're in a space now where we were doing those in person, but we would love to expand and do them virtually. I know that Ms. Bettina has contacts across the nation. And so if anyone on the call is interested in having this curriculum delivered in their church, we would be more than happy to set up a time to do that. So I'll put my contact information, email address in the chat. And I think that's everything for the moment. And I can take questions whenever you guys are ready for that piece. And again, thank you for having me tonight to speak about the work that we're doing in Memphis.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so before I go on to the next panelist, I see Bettina has her hand up. And so Bettina, I will defer to you. And then once you're finished with your question, would you speak to the humble beginnings of the sexperts before we have Charles speak to the sexperts, and please share my favorite story in terms of how we came to have the sexperts, or actually even the Healthy Sexy Vikings predated the sexperts. So Bettina.
Okay, I did not have my hand up.
I'm seeing it.
But-
You got your. Oh,
but
okay. Well, I guess I'm
but
just.
No,
It's
but
up.
I will speak to uh the two topics you asked me to talk about. I don't know how my hand got up. I didn't do that. I'm sorry. I didn't knowingly do it. But anyway, uh when we were working with the churches, there was there were a pastor by the name of Danielle Griffin, who, when we started early on, he said, we know that HIV is an issue and we know that it's in our community. But as a church, what we don't have is the ability to be able to talk about it because all of the messages that are out there support things that the church is diametrically opposed to. And so we can't support those messages in that manner. However, if you would help us to come up with a program that can be in the churches, we would be more than willing to do that. And so, working with 7 First Ladies, we created a program called Your Best Health. And these 7 First Ladies were across 60 nominations at that time. And the Your Blessed Health, it incorporated all of the things that the CDC said must be in any intervention to make that intervention be reliable and effective. And so what we did was add to that what the churches said that they needed to have, and that was that they needed to be able to have some autonomy in how the program operates in their church. They needed to be able to meet the guidelines of their denominational doctrines and practices. But they also wanted to have information or take form by what leadership of each individual church had. And so we created Your Blessed Health. And when we worked with the pastors and the first ladies and their identified individuals and trained them to be able to work with our children. And what happened is that the children they would come to sessions, and it was 5 sessions. And those sessions looked at helping them to understand what their values were, and based on those values, how they were making their decisions, then how they're communicating those decisions to others, and then how they're negotiating for behaviors and that they would and would not engage in. And so one of the young men, after going through his church and going through the session at his church, he was so excited about it. And he felt that his peers needed to know and understand what the knowledge they had got, because he said he knew what a lot of them were doing, and they were getting in trouble. And so he went to his principal at his school, and he asked his principal if they could have a session in school, an after school session. And the principal was willing to do that. And so we created the Healthy Sexy Vikings at this one particular school. And then when word got out to other schools, then children from the other schools thought that it was not fair for them to be able to have benefit, they not have it. And so they asked us if they could expand the program to the other 3 schools in 3 high schools that were in Flint. And so we did. And then because of that, they could be called the Healthy Sexy Vikings, because Vikings was for North High School. And so that's when Dr. Mark Campbell took the program, and the kids said that they wanted to be called sexperts. And she was like, well, you're not sexperts, so what I don't think the purpose of that. And they explained to her that because the name was attention getting, and that would allow their peers to feel comfortable coming to them and talking to them and asking questions. And so that's how the sexperts were started, and they did an awesome job of learning. They wrote their own plays. They wrote they did monologues programs. They had their own radio show. They worked with 4 pastors. They worked with them to create a church policy brief, and they did an awesome job. and they were ages 15 to 19. So I think there's a comment that Dr. Campbell was on tonight. And there was a comment, she said it was a controversial and a way to get people interested uh, and talking about it. So we were honored that the young people decided they wanted to be a part of it. And it wasn't just people, young people that were, there was a mixture of young people, let me say that way, of sexualities and sex, so orientation. So it's like they were, and I'm very proud of who they've become today.
Absolutely. Without question. And I'm very proud of the impact that not only did they have then, but they had continued to have. And that said, I will go back to Dr. Centio and let him continue the discussion that he was having in terms of the great article that we had for the sexperts in terms of their impact, as well as why Bishop and other or just the long-term impact of Bishop and other pastors. I think we were at what up to something like 450, 500 pastors across 13, 15 different states and 9 different denominations, to include the Muslims at their request, in terms of just the impact um, of our work, and what, 50,000 congregants or something like that, Bettina. But I'll pass it off to Doc. Let's go, sir.
Yeah, just to and thank you. Just to continue what Bettina was expressing about the sexperts. What at the time that I learned about them and learned about the wonderful work that they were doing, I was interested in what it did for them and what it did for them longer term. So, as I was alluding to earlier, I was able to talk to several of the, I don't know if I should call them former sexperts, but maybe it's one of those things that once you are a sexpert, you remain one. But and just talk to some of these young people, they were still younger, about what being in that role did for them. And as I mentioned in my opening remarks, we, after interviewing them, we discovered 3 areas of impact: the sort of long-term impact on just their overall learning, their impact on their cognitive sort of knowledge of HIV, of transmission, of protecting themselves, and then relationships. And there are several quotes that I pulled out from that study that we include in our paper that talked directly in their own voice about what being a sexpert did for them. So I'll just read a couple to you. In terms of perpetual impact, one of the sexperts said to me, "I am ultimately in control. I live my life in a more fluent way that is safer." And these people were in their early teens, 20s, but when I spoke to them, so they had been sexperts years before. And in terms of cognitive impact, another indicated, "I was so informed, so educated about things, about sexuality, sexual health. Had I not had that education, I wouldn't be where I am today. I would not be the same person. I'm being so serious." I still remember that comment about how being a sexpert was just transformative. And then in terms of relationships, relational impact, another sexpert said, "Just knowing that I had peers around my age to talk to, I looked at them as my family. It wasn't like my friends or my other peers." So I say that I wanted to share that with you just to illustrate the impact in so many of our health education efforts. Rightly so, we look at the students, if you will, the participants in our educational programs. But it's more rare to look at what that role does for the person, the in this case, the young people who are helping to learn about and then disseminate information about HIV. And the role had a profound effect on these young people. And I want to make sure that we don't lose track of that, discount that, because oftentimes in our educational interventions, be it for HIV or other conditions, we look at the almost exclusively at the impact that it has on the participants that we're focused on, which again is appropriate, but oftentimes the people who are conducting the work also have a profound impact on their lives. And I know one of the things that I enjoy most about the classroom is how I learn about the topic. I learn about what young people are worried about. I learn about what they're concerned about, particularly in these times. And that learning process is so often reciprocal, and we certainly found that with the sexperts.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I have a question for you. Did any of them say that because they were taught about sex, they were encouraged to go out and have sex?
No, none of them said that to me. That's kind of a false association. I do recall, though, that a couple of them indicated that they wanted to continue their education, their health education, and I believe one or two expressed interest in getting into the health field. So, while I didn't hear of them indicating, at least to me, that it promoted sort of promiscuity or having sex, it certainly promoted them to engage more with this work and this important information, as well as this important educational work. But no, I didn't. None of them indicated that it was a catalyst for sexual activity.
That's awesome. I mean, we've got what, at least I can speak to at least two that I know. So one actually has a radio show where he actually actively talks about um, how being a sexpert actually gave him the voice to be able to do the work that he does. And I was just going to ask Dr. Tamara, but she beat me to it that one of our other sexperts, and she was more of an introvert, and I just never thought that I would see her as a social worker, but she's a social worker in Grand Rapids, and she's been, I want to say, for maybe what, the past 10 years, that is what she has been doing. And so we've got folks, some of those sexperts that have gone on to be professional athletes and a whole lot of other stuff. And I missed all of your stuff, Bettina, because we can always say a mouthful about the awesome and amazing work that we did. Did you mention that they founded the APHA, Community-Based Public Health Caucus, Youth Council, in that Quentin, who founded the Healthy Sexy Vikings, he went on to be the inaugural president for that organization. Tamara was not in town working with us during that time, so I kind of took over and was one of the inaugural support team members. And your center was one of the inaugural organizations for again the APHA's Community-Based Public Health Caucus, Youth Council. And so not just showing the impact of our work on an individual and interpersonal level, but showing the organizational level in terms of your blessed health, but then also the community level institutionalization of that, because that was something that was founded back in 2010. I mean, the kids actually ratified their constitution in the White House, and it's still a major force for APHA, in which we've got young folks as young as middle school all the way to postdoc having their own conference. Within the conference, folks submit abstracts, and then they have a run of the show that's not too much different than APHA's annual conference within APHA's annual conference.
Would you tell the people what APHA
Oh, I'm sorry.
stands?
APHA, the American Public Health Association.
And I think too that it's important that say that, churches often wonder how they can get this work into their churches, and they have working with the National Faith Mobilization Network. They can have trained health ambassadors, and this could be a part of the ministry that they do. And it's critical because churches are still the most important trusted entity in the African American community.
Absolutely.
And we need to find a way to have they already involved, but find a way to increase that involvement, that level of involvement, so that people know where they can go and they can feel trusted, because now we're working on eliminating the stigma, and so people that are in care, or people that are even trying to practice prevention, can feel comfortable talking to their pastors. A bishop actually taught the classes herself. Unfortunately, she is at a conference, and she had to step out of the conference and be outside in the rain doing the broadcast. And so she had to say she had to get out of the rain. And so she asked us to please give everyone her apologies for having to step off of the webinar. But I think that from not only her, but there were other pastors who were considerably older, because their children were grown and they had their grandchildren, but the kids actually felt comfortable having them be the teachers of the class and sharing the information. They, in fact, when I talked to some of the students and asked them, how do you feel having your pastor be, or your first lady be the teacher for this? And they said it was awesome. So I think that churches can take a role. I mean, they should take a role. They have taken a role, but they need to take a more active role.
Absolutely. I mean, as we always say, saying it a different way. I mean, when folks have life-changing events, who are they more likely to go to if they don't have that kind of relationship with their parents? It's gonna be pastor or bishop. And at the very least, pastor or bishop should know who the Your Center in their community is, who the Dr. Prashan is in their community, who the Dr. Charles is in their community, so they can at least point them to a trusted community resource that's going to provide them with information that's age appropriate, culturally relevant. In our situation, we're talking about faith based, not just faith or community placed. Having said that, this Austin is always an awesome and amazing opportunity to get and talk to some of my mentors and colleagues, and in this work. I want to provide this opportunity specifically for folks that are in the audience that have not asked questions, did not know when to get in like double dutch and ask their questions. This is that time for individuals to ask any burning questions that they have. I do want to give other individuals that are on the panel with us, Miss White, Miss Palmer, if you want to say some words, this is your opportunity to participate as well.
Good evening. I am Tabitha White. I actually work with Miss Bettina Campbell, and I don't have my camera on because I'm having some issues with my eyes, and they are swollen and red. But this has just been an awesome presentation. This information is just very needful. Um, Faith-based organizations are, I would say, one of the best places that a conversation like this could take place. And that's because I know my children grew up within the church, and that's where their heart was, and that's where they, still have friends and people that they can contact, and they see people that they haven't seen in years, and they still feel comfortable talking to them and sharing with them and socializing with them. So I would just like to say that great job, Dr. Pashan, Ms. Campbell, Mr. Campbell, all of you all who have spoken on the panel, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
So are we
Anybody
opening
else?
it?
Y'all
Do
know?
do we?
Oh, I was opening. It's open to anybody, and y'all know I'm a true academic. I'm a true educator. I'm gonna pick on people because I see some people that's in here. I'm surprised she ain't made no comments as of yet. So I'm gonna pick on Baby July, see if she got anything she wanna say in particular. That would be Dr. Tamara Rose. And I guess not. I see Mr. Kabin, my guy, Mr.
She's
Kabin.
being promoted. She's being promoted so that she can talk.
Oh, okay. Ah, okay. I forgot. I forgot about that.
Hi, how
Yeah,
you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just want to say thank you all. It's wonderful to see you, Dr. Charles and Dr. Pishan. Thank you for all the amazing work that you all have put into your center, but into the field of HIV. I really appreciate you all showing up the way that you do because not oftentimes do academics get it, right? But what I love most about you two is that you have a heart and a passion and an understanding for the community. So thank you for your work with Your Bliss Health. As y'all know, that this was something very near and dear to my heart, as well as the Sexperts. And so I just thank you. And I think that having this discussion, no, I know that having this discussion with the faith community needs to continue to be at the forefront because, as many have mentioned on this panel tonight, that historically the church is where folks go when they're sick and they are in need of healing. We rely on our faith and our spirituality to get us through those tough times. So faith leaders being prepared to be that safe space for the community and the congregants in their community is so important, and making sure that they are armed with the tools, especially when you live in the buckle, not just the Bible Belt, but the buckle of the Bible Belt is so important that faith leaders have the tools and the resources so that they are not actually becoming a barrier and that they're starting to view HIV and other sexually transmitted infections as the reproductive justice issue that it is. It's not just, a public health issue, but how does my human rights become impacted because I'm now living with HIV, or how does that impact my family's, their rights as well, because I am living with HIV. And so really having this conversation about the social determinants and the intersectionality of all of these things and how they come together is so important. And so I thank you, Bettina, for creating this space and being bold and brave enough and unapologetic enough in the Bible Belt to lead these discussions with audacity, because if we fail to have these conversations, we fail to provide an answer, we fail to provide a cure. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Doctor.
Awesome.
But I think also that we should give thanks to the National Faith Mobilization Network for being bold enough to allow me to have this conversation, because the president, the board chairs, Dr. Michael O'Miner and Dr. Lottie Miner, and the board chair, Pastor Bernard Montgomery, see this as an issue. They truly understand. They understand the barriers that prevent people from being able to come to their church to get the spiritual help and guidance and comfort and support that they need. and they have taken the opportunity and the time to understand and to become engaged and involved in this work. And we want to say thank you to them. Also, I
That
want to
said,
take
oh, okay, go ahead.
I want to take the time to just do a quick wrap up of what we talked about, and the fact that reminding people that HIV means human immunodeficiency virus. AIDS mean acquired immune deficiency syndrome, acquired because you're not born with it. You have to get it from someone who's already positive in order for HIV positive, in order for you to become HIV positive. HIV is the virus. AIDS is the chronic illness that's caused by the virus. And that you can have HIV and not have AIDS, but you cannot have AIDS and not have HIV. There is no cure. So once you have HIV, you will always have HIV. So it's up to you. It's up to you to be your own protector. And it's up to you, if you are engaging in the behaviors that we talked about tonight, to go get tested and to know your status. And if you are found to have HIV, then to get into treatment, because the sooner you're into treatment, the longer, the better quality of life and the longer quality of life that you can have. Because remember, the medications that are with HIV, they raise the CD4 cell count, they lower our viral load, they prevent viral load replication, and they help prevent transmission. So with all those things working for you, HIV is no longer a death sentence, but you can live a long and healthy and happy life with HIV if you get into treatment and get the support system that you need. And we are building that support system tonight through the churches. So again, thank you all for being here, Dr. Pishan, Dr. Cintio, and Terrence for agreeing to facilitate this, to Duke and to his team, Tabitha and Kelsey, for being a part of this webinar and helping us to be able to get the word out tonight.
That said, it's two people that I want to make sure I give an opportunity to wrap us up. That being, I have not spoken to Sister Lottie in a while. I hope she's doing well. But Sister Lottie, if you would like to say some words, and I'm seeing that I need to click to allow you to talk, which I have just done.
Hi,
Hey, I can
can you
hear
hear
you.
me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say hello. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. This has been great information. Um, you and Sis Bettina and Bishop Jefferson and all the other folks that you all I have worked with so diligently over the years, people that we were blessed to meet through the Campbells. All of you, please stay on the wall. Keep doing the work that you're doing. It is benefiting the communities. I know sometimes it feels like it's not. Sometimes the numbers, particularly in Mississippi, make it seem like it's not working. But the word is getting out, and some people are really trying to do better. We've just got to keep on pushing, keep on teaching, keep on educating, keep on praying. So we just commend you guys. Keep up the good work.
And thank you for allowing us to be of service. And the last person I'm gonna click and give him an opportunity to talk if he wants is my board chair, my friend and my mentor, Dr. J.O. Shelley. Oh wow, I did not know that, Tamara. Wow, that makes tonight even more impactful. I guess Doc Shelley doesn't know. Hold on, let me see. Let me do this because I see he is.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can, Doc. How are you, my
I'm,
friend?
I'm good. I was saying that this tonight has been a splendid opportunity to share some pertinent information regarding our people as a whole. I've known a number of people that have that have contacted this disease, and for some of it's been very devastating. I really like the opportunity for the churches to get involved because that community is pertinent in our community. And I'm just thankful that we're marching forward. And I can't say enough for our guests tonight for everything that you've done to help us bring this information to the public. So thank you all very much.
All right. So have that being said, I want to close us out and say thanks again,
Just a minute,
everybody,
Terrence.
for
I wanted to
making.
give up Dr. Pishan or Dr.
Oh, okay.
Charles an
We can do that.
opportunity if
Yep.
they have one last thing that they want to say to tonight.
I just want to thank you for the invitation to participate in this, and thank everyone for the kind words in the chat and staying in the fight and keeping this top of mind because it is an issue that's affecting us disproportionately.
And I echo that. I appreciate the invitation to speak tonight. And for those of you that are interested in learning more about some of the local programming that we do in faith-based organizations in the Mid-South, please reach out to us. And we are happy to also extend the invite to those who would like to do a virtual training for our Project Lift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
And again, I just appreciate the fact that we have this space to be able to talk about what it was once a taboo topic.
Right.
Now there's space for us to do that. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Okay. If we've answered all questions, then Terrence, I guess you can close us out.
Well, again, thank you everybody for coming. It is always a pleasure to engage in this event annually. It's always a pleasure to see who's here. And I'm just going through. I mean, I haven't seen Tanya in forever. I appreciate Tanya, and I got family members, aunts, uncles, my road dog, Mr. Kabing. Good to see you, buddy. We were talking. I've actually defended my dissertation proposal a couple of weeks ago. So continue to fight that way. Everybody enjoy. For my folks in Michigan, stay warm, bundle up, put on your boots.